Going Mahomes 20 of 35, 262. Matt Ryan severely affected in the first half with him spending most of this half on his back, but in the second half it was plenty. 27 of 37, 222 and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor got to his numbers as well, 71 on the ground, another 20 through the air as the Colts pull off an upset and now possess that coveted 1-1-1 record through 3 weeks. All right, let's break this one down with two of our NFL minds, Tyler Sullivan and Ryan Wilson, here to see what they say what they saw. And guys, 20-17, I don't think is what anyone saw prior to this matchup. Lack of explosiveness on the Kansas City side. Ryan, what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes didn't look quite to be himself. You mentioned the first interception of the season, but I'm going to point to the special teams. Sky Moore got things started in the first quarter, with a muff punt. The next punt down when he was returning, he let the ball go. It was down inside the 5-yard line. Matt Amendola, who's in for Harrison Buckner, honked a field goal, missed an extra point, and then they had Tommy Townsend miss on the 4th down fake punt. So you could add all those points up, and it might get you past this number that cost them the game in Indianapolis. So I'm not so much concerned about the offense. We saw Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, sort of jawed at each other into the first half because time ran out. Mahomes wanted to run a play. I don't think that's the biggest concern for me. The biggest concern for me is that the special teams perhaps cost this team a game. On the other side, huge win for the Colts, of course. And as you noted, Joe, no one probably outside of Indianapolis saw this coming.
Yeah, you talk about nobody expecting this coming. At Caesars Sportsbook, it was total tickets, amount of dollars spent, all in the 80% plus range in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Vegas made out pretty good in this win for the Indianapolis Colts. And if you bet the Colts, congratulations. I certainly didn't. I didn't see this one coming. And Ryan, you're right. I mean, obviously the special teams is a clear issue. Yes, you can read into the Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes, end of the first half kind of spat going back and forth. And that will be talked about as the week goes on. Is the offense in full sync? But clearly what could be the Achilles heel for this team is the special teams. Because if that continues for what we saw today, continues throughout the regular season, those are the kind of miscues that can lose you a game against Buffalo, can lose you a game against Baltimore, all these teams that we might expect to be in it towards the tail end of the year. I mean, look no further than what happened with the Green Bay Packers last year. I mean, those special teams issues cost them a trip to the Super Bowl in many respects. So that, to me, is what's the big takeaway here. Can they get over these special teams issues? And the offense should be fine. I'm not really worried too much about Patrick Mahomes and all of those guys. I think they'll be able to figure things out. To me, like Ryan, it's the special teams.
You know, you're never as high as your wins or as low as your losses. So maybe we are giving KC the benefit of the doubt here. Remember last year they had that no-show against Tennessee during the regular season. Maybe this is that 1 week that they get each year where they just didn't get off the buses. On the Indy side of thing here, Tyler, what did you learn about Indianapolis here? Because through 2 weeks, correct me if I'm wrong, plenty were already writing them off. Frank Reich's teams do criminally underperform in the first couple months of the season, but they get one over on what's considered to be one of the top 2 teams in the NFL right now. What did you learn about Indy?
Yeah, no, it's something to hang their hat on, certainly. I mean, obviously we didn't expect Frank Reich to be on the hot seat or anything like that, but we looked at this Indianapolis team as a legitimate kind of sleeper Super Bowl contender, obviously playing in the AFC South, clearer path to maybe make the postseason than other teams in the AFC West, like the Chiefs, even though they were the favorites going into the year. So the fact that they were so sluggish out of the gate was certainly jarring. But for me, you look last week, obviously the shutout against Jacksonville, you do have to kind of give that with a little bit of a grain of salt. Obviously didn't have Michael Pittman or really any of their receiving weapons. They had Pittman in this one today. You look at the stats, 72 yards on 8 catches, 9 targets. I mean, it was a legitimate number 1 type performance day. So for me, that's what's encouraging. At least when Matt Ryan is given his weapons in front of him, he's able to produce and move the ball down the field. The protection, like you said, 5 sacks in this game, not what you want to see, especially for an older quarterback like Matt Ryan. But again, certainly a good home win that can kind of maybe get this season back on track and possibly be a springboard for them.
Sully, I think you're sort of telling on yourself when you say you have to take last week's loss in Jacksonville with a grain of salt, because Yeah, they can't beat the Jaguars, but that's a huge red flashing light. But you're right, they did bounce back this week. And by the way, I don't know why any team can't beat the Jaguars consistently, but that seems to be the Colts' fate. For an idea of how far this Colts team has fallen, to follow up on what Sully was talking about, we all thought they were going to win that division. All of us slept on the Tennessee Titans. The Pick Six podcast, we do this sort of preseason draft where we each pick 5 teams as our Super Bowl picks. No one picked the Titans. The Colts were one of the higher picks. So this wasn't a must-win game for Frank Reich, but it was pretty close to that. I felt like there was going to be some real concerns if they got blown out in this game, and they did the exact opposite. Without Shaq Leonard, by the way, so that adds to the excitement of building on something when you don't have all your pieces around you. But Sully's exactly right. This isn't sustainable. When Jonathan Taylor doesn't get involved early, when Matt Ryan continues to take a beating like he's Carson Wentz back there playing for the Colts, you have to fix those things. And, once you get into the season, it's hard to make those adjustments. So this is a huge win, put aside the final stat lines in terms of how many hits your quarterback took. But there are some things you have to tweak as you get through this process to ensure that these wins happen more often because, Musso, you sort of joked that 1-1-1 is coveted. It is in the AFC South, but it's not going to be sustainable unless some things change in Indianapolis.
All right, thank you, guys. As we said here, the Colts in the win column for the first time this season and the Chiefs in the loss column. Mahomes 262, almost outdueled. I mean, depending on how you stack them up here, Matt Ryan kept it clean, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, good for 18 fantasy points, same as Patrick Mahomes in PPR scoring. Jonathan Taylor, his production early on this season, it's been solid. But first overall in your league, 12 points. You want more. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was good for 14 as Travis Kelce got to the end zone for 17 points, a 2-point conversion as well. More highlights and analysis coming next on HQ.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.